Let's continue question number 8. Okay, this is good. You remember about the collision theory, about the order. So I have nothing else to add. And here they mention about one of the evidence to support the collision theory. You said that because the moon rocks is similar to the earth rock, which is good. It's also mentioned in here if you mention something like that. Yes, and I could say if you wanted to make more specific, a better answer should be like how similar they are, like based on what. So that should be like the same properties or the same components or the same composition. Okay, but if you just mention this, then it's good enough. Okay, yeah, and here they also mention like the same properties, or if more specific lower density, then it's not a big deal, kind of similar as well. But if you mention like they have an iron core, then that's not the point. Okay, it is not that. Okay, so make sure that you don't mention that and you good with your answer already. And the last one here, they also mentioned that why the density of this one is greater. Yeah, because we have in the theory it's also like the core itself with the iron denser, and however it kind of like merge into the earth. So the dense iron from the core of both planets have merged to create the earth, not the moon. That's why the moon has a less density compared to the earth. Okay, so you got the point for that. That for the moon formation. And then we move on to question number 9. They mention about extinction. A factor cause a species to become extinct. You choose this one, yes, because it changes the environment. So then if some individual, if they don't get adapted to the environment, they will die over time, and they become the less in number. And then at one point, there's no more of them. Is when they become extinct. Increase reproduction. Oh, come on. If you have this one reproduce increasing, what happened? You have more members for the generation, right? So it could not help, right? I could say maybe you make a mistake, you misread it to be the decrease, right? So if it said the decrease, then I agree yes, but this is the increase, then it says no. Okay, new disease, yes. So new disease, it can like killing more, it can kill more species, it can kill more individual of the species. So these will be the two options. Okay, explain the statement animal at risk of extinction. So just compare between the death rate and the reproduction rates. Yeah, so if more dying than more being like produced, then it will lead to extinction. That's the point. Okay, it's just that idea. Okay, if you just mention like no pre-production, then it just look at one side of the thing, right? It just mention about reproduction rate. It haven't mentioned about the death rate yet. So if you just mention and nothing to mention this one, then you don't get a point. Okay. Yeah. Instead of saying reproduction, we can also like birth rate because they're similar to each other. Okay. So that's question number 9. And then number 10, chemistry again. You get it right, that the displacement. And then write a word equation about this reaction. I wonder why you didn't complete this one, because it kind of like an easy question to get the point, right? You can see here we got what? Let's see. Let's read the problems again. A piece of copper is dipped into silver nitrate solution. So what is the keyword? Yes, a piece of copper. So this is the name of a substance. What is the other name of some substance? Solution, silver nitrate. So you got two substances reacting to each other. They also said that silver is made. So this is the product after the reaction. So, and you also know this is a displacement. So what does it mean? You have copper reacting with silver nitrate. So this is a displacement reaction, right? Let me duplicate this one. So what happened here? The copper here, because it's more reactive, it will take place of the silver. Silver and nitrate, you can just imagine that these two friends are hanging out with each other, but now copper is like more reactive, and then it will replace the position of silver. So it jump in here, it bond with the nitrate group, and then it leaves the silver alone. So that's why this is the product after the reaction. And that's also the meaning of displacement reaction as well. Sounds good? Okay. So this is just asking you to write the word equation. So make sure that you have everything in word, not in the chemical formula. Copper plus silver nitrate, then you produce silver and copper nitrate. So that's question number 10. And then lastly, here we can see that, yeah, so from the list of the order of reactivity, right, you can see which one is more reactive will replace the one that less reactive. So that's why you can see that this one can happen because this is more reactive. Yeah, so you got it right. That's good. So I think that you understand the concept of displacement reactions, right? Okay, then question 11. Question 11 here is an experiment. And then after we're reading the problem statement, they ask us the unit for temperature. Yeah, you got it right. Degrees Celsius. And the decrease in temperature in 300 seconds for each beaker. So here for the cardboard, initially is when time equals to 0, right? And finally, this is the final. This is the initial. They actually just like try to track the changes over time, right? So like after every 1 minute, they try to see how much is the change, and they note down the temperature. And it's just ask you for the decrease in total 300 seconds. So it's just between the initial point and the final point. So basically what you need to do is just take the difference between the two values. So then that will be 83. Now it's changed to like 65. So what's the change? You just got 83 minus 65 degrees Celsius. And that should be 18 degrees Celsius, right? Similarly for newspaper, also the same, 85. I mean the same process, the same way to do it. Just take the initial values, higher values, subtract it by the lowest value at the end. And then for the bubble craft, also the same, similar method. 85 subtracted for 73, then you got this one. So that's how you can find the degrees in over 300 seconds. What if the question asks you to find the difference within the first 2 minutes? Oh, if it's the first 2 minutes, then this is like after 1 minute, after 2 minutes, right? Then you got the value. So then if it's just the difference, you just take this one, subtract it for this one. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it depends on what the question asks for, okay? But like I said, it will just add something very straightforward and clear like this between the initial point and the final point. Sounds good? Then we move on to the C. We said that the bubble wrap is the best insulator. Why? Because insulator means that it can reserve the heat the best, right? So it doesn't let the hot water inside here to interact with the surrounding a lot. So the hot water can stay as hot as possible. So for this one, you can see that it doesn't have much change, right? This one is the one have the most change. This one is the one have the least change. So at the end, you can see that this one is the hottest one compared to on the three materials insulation. So that's why this one is the best one to reserve the heat, right? Because it also has the least drop in the temperature. Sounds good? Okay. And then D, they're asking for a anomalous result, which is like a anomaly, the thing that's different from others. So it does not fit the pattern. So which one is the one that doesn't fit the pattern here? You can see that after every 1 minute, everything dropped, right? The temperature dropped. But after from here to here 67, but up to like 75, it's an increase. So something kind of interesting happening here. So we can have a suspicion about this value. The best way to do is that to repeat it again, or just to check if any error when we're taking the notes down, But they didn't ask us to solve a problem now. They just asked us to notice the anomaly in the data. So this is the values, and then we circle it. And if they just ask you like reason, whenever they will be you being asked for like anomalous result, anomaly in the data, this is the explanation, because it just doesn't fit the pattern. Okay, so with this answer you can apply for any similar question like this one. Okay, and then last one here, how to improve the investigation. So what do you think? How to improve it? So we can start with the same temperature so that we compare a bit better, right? Here she have these two similar, but this one are different a little bit. Also, like same temperature surrounding, this is at the control, right? We need all the control variable to be the same to make it fair between all the materials. So that's why same temperature, same starting temperature, same volume, and use a lid, so that we can prevent also the loss of the thermal energy through the top, the surface, right? And use the same thickness of the insulation. Yeah, this is very important, right? So actually this one, just make sure that you have all the control variables listed out. Okay, control variables, independent variable, and dependent variable. Just have a review of them. Okay, independent variable is some variable that you want to manipulate to change during the process to see if you got some change to the independent, what happened to the other variable, which is the dependent, to see how the dependent variable depends on the independent one. Make sense? And to make sure that the comparison is fair between different materials, we have to make sure that all the other variables will to be the same except the independent. So here the independent is what? It's the materials, right? We changing the material. That's why we have to make sure all the other thing in the setup should be the same thermometer, the same insulation thickness, the same amount of water, and also use a lid so that they don't lose the heat to the air. We remove all the factor that can lead to the change in the temperature drop. Does it make sense? Okay. And yes, repeat the investigation. This is, I could say, that one of the the tip to answer this question. Whenever you want to repeat it, you want to have a better result, a more trustworthy result, you need to repeat the investigation. So this one can be applicable to all similar questions like this one. So think about this. If you have this one mentioned, you should have at least 1 mark already, right? Okay, and then here I just want to highlight another thing, that if you just mention you put a oil on the water or heat doesn't escape, you would not earn the point, because it just make it more complicated. It's not just that water itself, but it's also having another factor as oil. So we don't do it. Okay. The second thing is that a more accurate and precise thermometer. Well, for thermometer, it's kind of like a very like common tools in the um, in the experimental room. So there could not much uncertainty from the thermometer. That's why this one is not a very convincing one. So just make sure when they ask you the question like this, how to make improvement, think about the control variable. Okay, the thing that you need to make it the same, to make it fair for your experiment. Sounds good? Okay, thank you. And then we will have one last question to address really soon in one of the last video. Thank you.